Owen Holcombe died on February 14, 2024, at the age of 81. In the kitchen of the white farmhouse outside Gilman, Illinois, his own father had built in 1948. Owen left two sons, Marshal Holcombe, 53, a Champaign real estate broker who hadn't farmed a day in his life, and Garrett Holcombe, 49, who had farmed the southern half of the 480-acre Holcombe homestead beside his father since 1996. He also left a 1971 John Deere 4000 he'd bought new in March of 1971 for $9,200 from the Lyman family Paxton dealership. 96 horsepower, 6-cylinder 6404D diesel, Synchro-Range 8-speed, the low-profile cousin to the 4020. Owen ran her for 53 years. The hour meter at his death read 7,240. Marshal had named himself state executor under Owen's revised will from 2018. He told Garrett the 4,000 would be sold at a closed auction in late August 2024 to establish fair market value. The closed auction format, invitation only, 3 to 5 registered bidders, sealed envelope bids, was Marshal's idea. He said it would protect the estate from a public lowball. If this kind of story matters to you, the kind where the work is honest and the iron tells the truth, we'd be honored if you subscribed. The closed auction ran on Saturday, August 24, 2024, at the Stradling Estate Auction Service yard outside Gilman. Auctioneer Cyril Stradling presided. 5 sealed envelope bids were registered. Garrett's was $15,000. The 4 other bids, from registered bidders Marshal had assembled, came in at $4,800, $5,200, $6,400, and $7,800, respectively. Garrett's $15,000 won the lot at the Hammerfall at 11:42 a.m. Saturday morning. Garrett wrote a personal check for $15,000 on Monday morning, August 26, 2024, and trailered the 4,000 home to his 240 acres outside Gilman. He parked her in the open machine shed beside the late 1990s 4x4 440 he'd run for 30 years. The 4,000 was home. 23 minutes after Garrett unloaded the trailer, Marshal called the kitchen line. "Garrett, the check cleared," Marshal said. "Marshal, the check cleared." "Garrett, the 4,000 is your problem now?" "Marshal, why do you say it like that?" "Garrett, just keep her in the shed. Don't drive her into Gilman. Don't ask Cyril Stradling about the auction paperwork." "Marshal, what are you telling me not to do?" "Garrett, I'm telling you to leave it alone. The 4,000 is yours. The check cleared. End of story." Marshal hung up. If you're still here, subscribe. The numbers in this story are real, and so are the brothers behind them. Garrett sat at the kitchen table that Monday evening with Adeline. Adeline had been his wife for 26 years. She kept the books. She had a printed copy of the closed auction settlement statement spread across the table. "Garrett, the 4 other registered bidders," Adeline said. "Adeline, what about them?" Garrett asked. Adeline ran the names through the Iroquois County Circuit Clerk Public Record Search this afternoon, Adeline replied. "The 4 bidders are Cyril Stradling himself, his wife Eunice Stradling, his son Trent Stradling, and a Champaign LLC called Holcombe Holdings LLC. Adeline, Holcombe Holdings LLC. Holcombe Holdings LLC was registered with the Illinois Secretary of State on January 18, 2024, 3 weeks before your father passed," Adeline said. "Sole member listed on the registration, Marshal Holcombe." "Adeline, Marshal owns the LLC that bid against me." "Marshal owns the LLC that bid against you. Marshal also bid through his cousin's 3 family members. The 4 other bidders at the closed auction were all controlled by Marshal directly or through his cousin Cyril Stradling." "Adeline, the closed auction was rigged. The closed auction was rigged. Marshal's LLC bid $700 to $800, the highest of his 4 shills. Garrett, You bid $15,000. The estate received your $15,000 check, and the closed auction settlement statement listed the sale price at $15,000. The estate then paid 8% commission to Stradling Estate Auction Service, sell on $200, and distributed the remaining $13,800 between you and Marshal as the two heirs. Adeline. So Marshal collected $6,100 of my $15,000. Marshal collected $6,100 of your $15,000 as his half of the estate distribution. He also kept the LLC's bidder deposit of $400. Net to Marshal, $7,300 in cash collected from his own brother on a tractor he never intended to keep. Adeline. The $4,000 was always going to me. The $4,000 was always going to you, Garrett. Marshal knew that. He used the closed auction to make you pay $15,000 for what you would have inherited at a fair $7,500 split and trade structure between brothers. Adeline, why did Marshal warn me off Cyril Stradling on the phone today? Because if you ask Cyril for the bidder identities and Cyril tells you, the structure unwinds in a probate court within 30 days. Marshal doesn't want it unwound. Adeline, call Earl in the morning. Garrett, I'm calling Earl tonight. Adeline called Earl Braddock at 8:14 p.m. Monday evening. Earl listened to the entire account with both hands flat on the kitchen table. Ruth refilled his coffee mug twice during the call. When Adeline finished, Earl asked one question. Adeline, was Imogene Barr at the Stradling auction yard on August 24? Earl asked. Imogene wasn't there, Adeline said. Adeline, Imogene is the right lawyer for this. She handled Lamar Whitaker's Pelton estate case last fall. She knows how to pull a closed auction apart in probate court. I'll call her at 7 a.m. tomorrow morning. We'll meet at her Paxton office at 9 a.m. Wednesday. Earl, will Garrett get the $7,300 back? Adeline, Garrett will get the $7,300 back, plus statutory interest, plus Imogene's fees, plus the closed auction's $200 commission deducted from Marshal's share of the unwinding. Marshal will be removed as estate executor and replaced by an independent administrator. The probate court will rerun the 4,000's valuation at fair market, somewhere between $9,400 and $11,800 for a 1971 $4,000 with 7,840 hours in working condition. Garrett will end up paying about $5,000 net for his half share of the tractor, not $15,000. Earl, the family won't recover from this. Adeline, the family won't recover from this. But the truth recovers. The 4,000 stays with the brother who farms her. Earl, that's the right answer. Imogene Barr met Garrett, Adeline, and Earl at her Paxton office at 9 a.m. on Wednesday, August 28, 2024. Imogene had pulled the Iroquois County Circuit Clerk records, the Illinois Secretary of State LLC registration, the closed auction settlement statement, and the estate inventory by 8:30 a.m. that morning. She had a yellow legal pad and a fresh manila folder. Garrett, I have 4 findings to walk you through, Imogene said. Imogene, walk me through them, Garrett replied. Finding 1. Holcombe Holdings LLC was registered January 18, 2024, 27 days before your father passed. Sole member is Marshal Holcombe. The LLC has no business activity recorded with the Illinois Department of Revenue and no operating account at any commercial bank in Iroquois or Champaign County. It exists for one purpose, bidding at the August 24th closed auction. Finding 2, Imogene continued. Cyril Stradling is Marshal's first cousin through their mother's side. Cyril's mother, Mavis, was sister to Marshal's mother, Lorraine. The Iroquois County Circuit Clerk Public Records confirm the Stradling-Holcombe family relationship dating back to 1948. Marshal disclosed this relationship to no one when he hired Stradling Estate Auction Service to run the closed auction. Finding 3. The 4 registered bidders at the closed auction, Cyril, Eunice, Trent, and Holcombe Holdings, LLC, represent a single coordinated bid pool under Illinois Probate Act 755 ILCS 5/27-2 self-dealing prohibitions. The closed auction was not a competitive sale. It was a sham designed to extract $15,000 from the only legitimate bidder. Finding 4. Marshal's role as estate executor under Owen's 2018 revised will give him sole authority to set the closed auction format. Illinois case law from Estate of Witkowski v. Witkowski 2019 establishes that an executor who structures a sale to benefit himself at the expense of co-heirs commits breach of fiduciary duty. The breach here is unambiguous and well documented. Imogene, what's the remedy? Garrett asked. The remedy is a probate court petition to unwind the August 24 sale, remove Marshal as executor, install an independent administrator, rerun the 4,000's valuation at fair market, refund Garrett the difference between his $15,000 bid and the corrected fair market price, and recover the whopping $200 commission paid to Stradling Estate Auction Service. Imogene, how long does the probate take? 6 to 10 weeks if Marshal contests, 3 to 4 weeks if he settles. Either way, the 4,000 stays with you, Garrett. The court won't unwind the tractor's transfer because you bid in good faith. Imogene, file the petition. Garrett, I'm filing today. Garrett walked back to the kitchen at 4:42 p.m. Wednesday after the meeting and sat down across from Adeline at the kitchen table. Adeline had a fresh pot of coffee on the stove and the farm ledger open between them. Adeline, Imogene filed the petition at 1:14 p.m., Garrett said. Adeline knows, Adeline replied. Adeline, what does the math come to if Marshal contests? Garrett asked. Adeline ran the numbers at 3:00 p.m., Adeline said. If Marshal contests, the probate runs 8 to 10 weeks at $408 a week in Imogene's billable time. Total legal cost to us is $4,800. The settlement refund Imogene quoted is $9,800. Net to us is $5,000 in cash plus the $4,000 at her corrected $5,200 valuation. Net to Marshal is a $7,300 state distribution forfeiture plus $1,200 in commission recovery plus his own legal fees. Adeline, what if Marshal doesn't contest? Garrett asked. Adeline thinks Marshal will contest for 2 weeks, then settle when Lyman Hartwig pulls the LLC operating records. Adeline replied. Marshal's LLC has 0 business activity recorded with the Illinois Department of Revenue. The shell company will be evident the moment a court-appointed administrator opens the records. Adeline, Marshal will settle, Garrett said. Adeline thinks Marshal will settle by mid-November, Adeline answered. Imogene thinks the same. The criminal investigation by Owen Marsh's office adds pressure. Cyril Stradling is the weak link. Cyril will admit the shill structure within 30 minutes of an interview at his auction yard. Adeline, what about Dad? Garrett asked. Adeline thinks Dad would have wanted the truth on the record, Adeline replied. Dad raised both his sons. Dad knew Marshal sold real estate in Champaign for 22 years. Dad knew Garrett farmed beside him for 28 years. Dad's revised will from 2018 named Marshal executor not because Marshal was the better son, but because the son who farms shouldn't be the son who handles the money. Dad miscalculated. Adeline, Dad miscalculated. Adeline thinks Dad would forgive the miscalculation if he could see what Garrett's about to put right, Adeline said. The 4,000 stays in the family, the 4,000 stays with the son who farms her. That's the right outcome. Dad would sign the petition himself if he could. Adeline, Dad would sign the petition himself. Adeline, Imogene's filing has Dad's signature and spirit on every page. Imogene filed the probate petition at the Iroquois County Circuit Court at 1:14 p.m. Wednesday afternoon, August 28th, Tohau-Tohentwar, by 4:18 p.m. Friday, August 30th, the court had scheduled a removal hearing for September 18th. By the September 18th hearing, Marshal had retained his own counsel and signaled he would contest. The court appointed an independent administrator named Lyman Hartwig, 64, retired from Hartwig & Co. probate practice in Watseka, to oversee the estate during the dispute. Lyman Hartwig pulled the closed auction records on his second day in the role. By October 8, 2024, he had documented 12 additional findings. The 4,000's pre-auction valuation by Marshal's appointed appraiser was $4,800, published in the auction packet as the reserve. The Stern Equipment Grain Desk's machinery valuation desk had given the same $4,000 a working condition fair market estimate of $11,400 in late August 2024. Marshal had withheld the Stern Equipment estimate from the closed auction packet. The Iroquois County Sheriff's Office Fraud Investigations Unit opened a parallel criminal investigation on October 4th, 2024, after Lyman Hartwig forwarded the documented findings. Deputy Owen Marsh interviewed Cyril Stradling on October 17th at the Stradling Auction Yard. "Mr. Stradling, Owen Marsh, Iroquois County Sheriff," Owen said. "Deputy, what's this about?" Cyril asked. "The Holcombe estate closed auction on August 24th. The 4 registered bidders. Holcombe Holdings, LLC. Deputy, the closed auction was a competitive sale," Cyril said with a small dismissive smirk. "Mr. Stradling, the 4 bidders were you, your wife Eunice, your son Trent, and an LLC owned by Marshal Holcombe, your first cousin through your mother's side. The LLC was registered 3 weeks before Owen Holcombe died. The LLC has no operating activity. The closed auction was a coordinated bid pool. Tell me what Marshal paid you to organize it." "Deputy, Mr. Stradling, the independent administrator already has the LLC paperwork. Lyman Hartwig pulled the records on October 8th. Tell me the cash amount." Cyril sat down at his auction yard desk and ran a hand through the balding silver hair around the sides of his head. "Marshal paid me $400 in cash on August 17th, 1 week before the auction," Cyril said. "He told me to organize the 4 bidders, set the reserve at $4,800, and let Garrett bid up to $15,000. Holcombe Holdings, LLC was the backstop in case Garrett came in lower than $7,800. The LLC was prepared to bid up to $4,500 to force Garrett's hand." "Mr. Stradling, you'll sign the statement on Monday morning," Owen said. "Deputy, I'll sign," Cyril replied. "Mr. Stradling, your auctioneer license is going to be reviewed by the Illinois Department of Financial and Professional Regulation by next Friday. The closed auction format is being banned for estate sales involving immediate family executors, effective January 1st, 2025. The Stradling Estate Auction Service will likely close before then." "Deputy, I know," Cyril answered. "Mr. Stradling, the smart move is to surrender your license voluntarily before the review." "Deputy, I'll surrender it." Cyril Stradling admitted within 18 minutes that Marshal had paid him $400 in cash to organize the 4-bidder shield structure and that Holcombe Holdings, LLC had never operated as a real business. The probate hearing scheduled for September 18th was rescheduled to November 12th to incorporate the criminal findings. By November 12th, Marshal had run out of room. He signed a settlement agreement with the independent administrator at 11:14 a.m. Tuesday, November 12th, 2024. The terms: the $4,000 remained with Garrett at a corrected purchase price of $5,200, half of the corrected $10,400 fair market estimate. Marshal returned $9,800 to Garrett, the difference between the $15,000 paid and the $5,000 corrected price. Marshal also forfeited his $7,300 state distribution share from the August 24 sale, returned the $400 LLC bidder deposit, and paid Imogene Barr $4,800 in legal fees plus $2,400 in Lyman Hartwig's administrative fees. Cyril Stradling forfeited his $1,200 commission and surrendered his Illinois auctioneer license effective December 4, 2024. The Stradling Estate Auction Service yard closed permanently on December 31, 2024. Garrett trailered the 4,000 to Virgil Kemp's two-bay shop on Route 9 outside Gibson City the Saturday after the settlement, November 16, 2024. Virgil walked around the tractor twice, climbed up in the cab, ran her through the Synchro-Range gears in the gravel drive, climbed down, and shook his head with quiet approval. "Garrett, the 4,000 is sound," Virgil said. "Virgil, what does she need?" Garrett asked. "Garrett, the 4,000 needs an oil change, a hydraulic filter, and a new fan belt at $84 in parts plus $180 in labor. Total $264. She'll be ready for spring planting on April 4th by 5 p.m. Friday." Virgil, "That's a fair number." Garrett, "Your father ran her right for 53 years. There's nothing to fix here that 53 years of careful operation didn't already prevent." "Virgil, what do I do about Marshal?" Garrett asked. "Virgil doesn't have an answer for that one, Garrett," Virgil replied. "Earl does." Earl sat at the kitchen table at the Braddock farmstead at 8 p.m. Wednesday evening, November 13, 2024, with Ruth across from him. The white ceramic coffee pot sat between them. "Earl, the probate settlement closed yesterday morning at 11:14 a.m., Ruth said. "Ruth, the settlement closed clean," Earl replied. "Earl, what about the family?" Ruth asked. "Ruth, the family doesn't close that easy," Earl said. "Garrett and Adeline haven't spoken to Marshal since the November 12th settlement signing. Marshal's wife, Lorraine, called Adeline at 4:18 p.m. yesterday afternoon to ask if there was a path back. Adeline told her there might be a path back in 5 years if Marshal returned the LLC paperwork voluntarily and apologized at Owen's grave on the anniversary in February." "Earl, will Marshal apologize?" Ruth asked. "Ruth, Marshal sold real estate in Champaign for 22 years, Earl answered. "He doesn't apologize. He negotiates. The graveside apology is the one transaction Marshal can't structure his way out of. I don't think he'll show up in February." "Earl, the family fractures." "Ruth, the family fractures," Earl said. "Owen raised 2 sons. One son farmed beside him for 28 years. The other son sold real estate in Champaign for 22 years and tried to extract $7,300 from his own brother on a tractor he never intended to keep. The fracture was already there. The closed auction made it visible." "Earl, what about the 4,000? Ruth asked. "Ruth, the 4,000 is in Virgil's shop tonight," Earl replied. "Garrett picks her up Saturday morning at 11 a.m. He'll trailer her back to the Holcombe machine shed outside Gilman by noon. The 2025 spring planting is scheduled for April 4th at 5 a.m. Earl, Owen would be proud. Ruth, Owen would be proud of one son and disappointed in the other," Earl answered. "That's the math Owen left behind." "Earl, the math is the math." "The math is the math, Ruth," Earl replied. Earl drove out to the Holcombe farmstead outside Gilman the Sunday after Garrett picked up the 4,000 from Virgil's shop, November 24, 2024, in the silver Chevy Silverado 2500. He met Garrett in the gravel drive. Earl wore the olive green John Deere mesh cap pulled low against the November wind. The dark-tan Carhartt chore coat sat closed over the buffalo check flannel. His steel blue eyes met Garrett's. "Garrett, the 4,000's home," Earl said. "Earl, the 4,000's home," Garrett replied. "Garrett, what about Marshal?" Earl asked. "Earl, Adeline and I haven't spoken to Marshal since November 12th. The probate settlement closed the legal matter. The family matter doesn't close that easy." "Garrett, families don't close that easy." "Earl, my father raised 2 sons who turned out different ways," Garrett said. "Marshal turned the 4,000 into a $7,300 cash extraction from his own brother. I turned the 4,000 into 53 years of work my father trusted me to continue." "Garrett, your father knew which son to trust with the 4,000. "Earl, my father knew." "Garrett, the 20-25 spring plantings on the 4,000. "Earl, the 20-25 spring plantings on the 4,000. Same way the 1971 spring planting was on the 4,000. Same way the 2024 fall harvest would have been if my father had lived through November." "Garrett, the 4,000 outlasted the auction." "The 4,000 outlasted the auction, Earl." Dale Voss came by the Braddock farmstead on a clear Tuesday morning in early December 2024 in his white GMC Yukon. "Earl, heard about the Holcombe auction unwound at the Iroquois County Circuit Court," Dale said. "You heard?" Earl said. "Heard Marshal Holcombe walked into a $9,800 refund order against his own brother." "Marshal Holcombe rigged a closed auction against his own brother for a $7,300 cash extraction," Earl replied. "The probate court unwound it. Cyril Stradling lost his auctioneer license. The Stradling auction yard closed December 31st. Garrett got the 4,000 at a corrected $5,200 purchase price. The 4,000 outlasted the rigged sale." "You make it sound noble." "I make it sound right, Dale," Earl answered. "A father's tractor stayed with the son who farmed her. The other son got a $9,800 lesson in the Illinois Probate Act." Dale shook his head with a wide, smug, mocking smirk and a dismissive shake of his head and climbed back into the Yukon and drove off without another word. The 1971 John Deere 4000 sat in the open machine shed of the Holcombe farmstead outside Gilman on the night of December 14th, 2024, with $9,200 of original 1971 purchase price still in her dark factory green paint, 7,240 hours on the meter, a $9,800 probate court refund check cashed to Garrett's bank, and a corrected $5,200 fair market purchase price recorded with the independent estate administrator. The 4,000 had outlasted Owen Holcombe's stroke. She had outlasted the closed auction. She had outlasted Marshal's $7,300 cash extraction attempt. The brother who farmed her brought her home.